At that time, I had an idea that I wanted to do an archaeological ethnography of contemporary American death practices. One day, after talking to Daniel about his filmmaking, I realized that this topic could make an interesting film. I was pretty sure it would involve some interesting people, and visuals of deathscapes and artifacts were already running through my head. I pitched it to him over a Mexican brunch in my Chicago neighborhood. He said yes, and we were off running. Our time, our budget, and our ideas about the project ebbed and flowed over this 5-year period. We had no script. Most documentarians have some idea about the story they want to tell before they get started. I had no clue what was going on in American death practices, other than that they were rapidly changing. I wanted to learn more. For me, filming was like collecting found objects until they start to assemble themselves into coherent patterns. We eventually collected over 200 hours of footage. This magpie approach is not the easiest or most cost-effective way to make a film. Perhaps you can't take the archaeologist out of the filmmaker. Daniel was patient with my steep learning curve and this exploratory method, which was new for him, too. It often felt like we were undertaking an old-fashioned expedition into unknown territory. Filmmaking was all new to me, and I loved most of it. It is physical and creative at the same time, with a necessarily intense camaraderie among the crew. That combination parallels the joyful labor of an archaeological dig. It was in the film editing process that the writing started to happen. At that point, I accepted that we had far too much material and too many storylines to fit into a single film. Films allow you to stretch and explore a topic, but they also need a tight focus to get ideas across. It is a more subtle medium than text. So what appears in this book is in part the cutting room floor, all those themes, characters, dialogues, and subplots that we couldn't fit into the 21-minute documentary we eventually produced. The film, I Like Dirt, zeroes in on contemporary California and the ways in which death care there reflects a particular regional culture. The scope of this book is larger and more cluttered, ranging across the American landscape and digging down into its historical roots. The quality of the research presented here is inseparable from its origins in the filmmaking process. I would be telling a lie if I pretended that this book emerged from a standard ethnographic inquiry. The writing at times probably has a cinematographic quality. A behind-the-scenes narrative makes it clear that many of the people I was speaking to were being filmed. Whenever I say we, I usually mean Daniel and myself, but about half of the time there was a third or even a fourth person there recording sound or assisting. I often simplify the point of view to I because I'm trying to get across what was going on inside my head when I was talking to someone, or to convey the particular dynamic between interviewer, me, and interviewee. But Daniel was always there, watching behind the camera, adding his own questions for people and stirring the pot of ideas, often as we talked over a well-earned meal. And he is here in this book. I have already alluded to how my specialist training as an archaeologist affected the creative process, but it was my generalist training as an anthropologist that attuned me to ethical concerns. All the direct quotes in the book are transcribed either from audiovisual files made in the process of filming or from my written notes of one-on-one interviews conducted before or after filming, or independent of it. In terms of transcription editing, I cleaned up oral speech by eliminating ums, false starts, and awkward repetitions, and for the sake of textual flow, I eliminated ellipses, but never scrambled the order of statements. The principles I applied in editing quotes were be true to the speaker and be easy on the listener.